What's up, guys? My name is Rob. You are on Rule of Two Review, and today I'm going to discuss a couple of gaming news stories from this past week. Okay, so it's been a while since I've done a video that's dedicated to a couple of gaming topics all at once. I like to do this stuff, I just never really have the time or to sort of put together sort of a week in review kind of format. It's just not what I'm used to doing. But there was a couple small things that I wanted to talk about, so I figured, hey, let's go back to a sort of a multiple news story kind of video format just for a day, because I think this stuff is kind of fun. The first thing I want to talk about I thought was a pretty interesting piece of news from a couple of days ago. It may seem like a big deal at first, but it's not really the most relevant piece either, which is why I didn't think it was worthy of its own video overall. What I'm talking about is that in the past week, it was announced from Microsoft that just recently the Xbox 360 surpassed the Nintendo Wii and became the #1 selling 7th generation console of all time. Now, when I first think about that, I think the first thing that jumped to my mind is that I was pretty shocked. I loved the Xbox 360. I still love my Xbox 360. I think it was a great gaming machine, even though it was my third favorite last generation, behind the PS3 and Wii respectively. I still think it's great. It had some of the best games last gen, some of the best games in a very long time, introduced us to Gears of War, had a couple other great exclusives like Alan Wake and such, and I really enjoy the console. I think it was great. Now, of course, as a huge Nintendo fan, I was really glad to see the Wii do so well last generation. It wasn't my favorite. I did prefer the PS3 overall, but I still think the Wii was a great machine, and I was really proud of my boys Nintendo being able to come out swinging after the odd generation, I should say, that was the GameCube. Another great system that didn't sell super fantastically, and they just came out of nowhere with this brand new idea in this new casual market, and they just struck major gold, record-setting gold with the Nintendo Wii, and I think that was great. I was really glad for them. It's interesting when you go back and replay in your head how the 7th generation played out, where the Wii just like took off like a train and it was untouchable. The Xbox 360 did also super fantastically for the first couple of years. The PlayStation 3 notoriously had an abysmal launch, was far too expensive. Games weren't easy to make or port over. It had a bunch of crappy exclusives. Any sort of multiplayer ports that were made for the system didn't run very well. It just struggled for the good first, I don't know, 3-ish years or so, where it really wasn't doing all that well, especially compared to the Wii and the 360. Now, you fast forward a couple years till around 2010 or 11 or so, and it's interesting because at that time, the PlayStation 3 had a bunch of really awesome exclusives that were coming out. Little Big Planet and Uncharted were some big titles that were God of War, of course, the furtherment of God of War, I should say. It really had a bunch of things going for itself that started to make it a better seller. And near the end of the 7th generation, around 2012 or so, when the Wii was all but dead, Nintendo was starting to pump up the Wii U. The 360 and PS3 were still going strong, and we knew that at some point we'd be hearing about their next systems. At that time, there had been so much time since the PS3 started releasing really good games that it gained a lot of ground, and the Xbox 360 started to slip. Like I said, the Wii was basically done at that time, and the PS3 was catching up to the 360. Now, about a year or two ago, it was all but a tie between the PlayStation 3 and the 360. And at this point, the Wii U had already come out. We were getting ready for the PS4 and Xbox One. It was like the 8th generation had begun. We were getting ready to get deeper into it with the other new systems coming out. And it was kind of like, I'm pretty sure that at that time, the PlayStation 3 might have surpassed the Xbox 360 and then, lost ground again with the 360. Basically, they started doing a back and forth, but the PS3 had made up a lot of ground to be able to even do that. So that was really interesting. In my mind, that didn't really matter anymore, kind of like this information doesn't matter. I feel like once, one of the 3 systems is dead and the other 2 are really just fighting for scraps as the new generation is beginning, like that, those place changes don't really make a difference, because when I think of the 7th generation and what systems performed in which respective order, it's really the times that those systems in that generation were at its prime that counts. So here we come to the news today that the Xbox 360, after all this time, because it's still a console from the 7th generation that is consistently selling, it is now past the Wii, which I thought the Wii had such a large gap in sales over the 360 and PS3. I didn't think that was ever going to be possible, but I was apparently proven wrong, and I'm totally okay with that. I'm very proud of the 360, happy for Microsoft. You guys did make a great machine, and I'm really glad to see all of its success. It's interesting it's selling so far into the 8th generation now that we're in year 3 for the Wii U and years 2 for the PS4 and Xbox One. But I still have to go back to the theory I was just mentioning where I don't really think that this matters, and this doesn't affect the 7th generation. I feel like in the annals of history, when we go back and remember the 7th generation, if it was, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago at that time, how did the systems do? People aren't going to talk about it like the Xbox 360 was number 1 and the Wii was number 2 and the PlayStation 3 was number 3. People will remember, and it will be documented as such, understandably, that the Wii was number 1. It did crazy numbers and was untouchable throughout the life of the generation itself. The 360 was basically number 2, and the PS3 caught up and was a very close number 3. Basically, you could almost call the PS3 and the 360 sort of a tie. And I think that's how it will be remembered, and as it should, because again, my point being is that I think by the time the 360 ended up surpassing the Wii, it's the prime of the 7th generation is done. It's basically a dead generation, despite the 360 continuing to sell a little bit. So it's one of those things where I don't want to say that it changes the effects of the 7th generation when it was in its prime, but I also don't want to deny Microsoft its credit. So like I said, in wrapping this up, congrats to Microsoft, bravo. Somehow your 360 is still selling. Also, pretty funny when you consider it's the first system that released. It launched in 2005, a year before the PlayStation 3 and the Wii, and here it is now, the beginning of 2015, so literally one full decade, and it's still performing and still breaking records and passing its competitions and doing crazy things and having good success. So pretty interesting. Sad to see my Wii have to slip, but at the same time, I love the 360. So like I said, congrats to Microsoft. Okay, the next pretty cool piece of news that I wanted to talk about is that the Order 1886, the PlayStation 4 exclusive that is launching in just a couple of weeks on February 20th, has finally gone gold as of today. This is coming from Ready at Dawn, the studio behind the game. And the Order 1886 is a really interesting beast because it's the first PlayStation 4 exclusive, its first major exclusive for 2015. Honestly, one of the first major exclusives the system has had, period, yet in its first year. And now it'll be 3 months, I think, at that time, if my math is correct. Yeah, a year and a quarter, basically, by the time this game releases. There hasn't been a lot of exclusive, high-quality AAA content on the PlayStation 4, and I own a PlayStation 4. I love my PlayStation 4. It's probably my least played of all the consoles that I have, but I do still like it. And this game is mired in a lot of controversy because it has the potential to be one of the best games for the system and something to really start to bolster its library. The system is selling fantastically, so it does not need help in that department. But most gamers would agree that as far as the library goes, and especially the exclusive library, there's a serious dearth of quality going on in the PlayStation 4, which is too bad, because like I said, it is a quality machine that I enjoy very much. So this is something that the system really needs, and I'm glad to see this game coming out. It's like you want to be hyped for it. It looks fantastic. The setting and the neo-Victorian kind of thing going on with the steampunk weapons and the characters and the amazing visuals. I mean, it could and should be one of the most hotly anticipated, hyped games for the PlayStation 4. However, there's a lot of controversy if you want to say, surrounding this game because it actually doesn't really look all that great, or at least to a lot of people. And I kind of admit the same thing. Now, it's not a game that I'm super excited for, even though I wish it looked better than it did because I want to be excited for it. I've recently decided that, so that I can understand this game, be able to talk about it from a perspective of knowledge and understanding about the game, and to try to experience anything the PS4 might actually have to offer, I've decided to pick the game up. For a while, I was like, it just doesn't look that great. It looks far too cinematic to be engaging or fun. I feel like they're going to try to take control away from the player far too often, and it looks like kind of repetitive shooting, which is okay when it's good, but this doesn't look exceptionally good. So the setting is so neat, and it is a pretty game, and some of it reminds me of Resident Evil. It's a very unique sort of situation going on here. And like I said, since I want to be able to talk about the game, and if it's a bad game, I want to be able to say I know it's a bad game because I own it, have paid for it, and have played it, I'm going to pick it up. I don't like being that guy that's like, oh yeah, the Order 1886, that's a piece of shit, and the PlayStation 4 is bad games, and blah, 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 when I haven't even goddamn played it. Like, I just am not that guy. So I'm willing to support the game. I do like Ready at Dawn. They were responsible for the God of War games, and goddamn, I love me some God of War. So I want to believe in them. I really want to hope to be proven wrong, and I want this game to turn out to be awesome. I want to be able to finally start telling people, yeah, the PlayStation 4 is a good machine with a good library, not, oh, it's got potential and maybe it'll be great someday. I don't want to have to say that. Greatness awaits, haha. I don't want to have to say that. I'd like to get to the point where I can say, yeah, there's a couple great games, Order 1886, Little Big Planet 3, Bloodborne, Infamous. Like, I want to be able to list 5, 6, 10 games that are actually good and mostly exclusive to the system. So Order 1886, really strange case. Who knows how that thing is going to turn out, but it's finally gone gold after a lot of, many delays and lots of controversy about if it's going to be ready or not. So here we go, February 20th. We know this game will finally come out. I'm going to buy and play it, and at that time, I'll go ahead and let you guys know what I think of it. Okay, and the last random and I think pretty fun piece of news I want to talk about is something I saw today. This is really just not that important, but I think it's kind of cool. For, I don't know, what, the second or third, maybe even fifth year in a row, I don't know. PewDiePie. We all know PewDiePie, the famous YouTuber. He was the most viewed YouTube channel on YouTube. Which of course makes sense because, as we all know, he's also the #1 most subscribed channel on YouTube, which is pretty crazy because he's a gamer and he's a really goofy Swedish gamer, and he's, insane and yells a lot and blah, blah, blah. And, he's very polarizing. Obviously millions of people love him and a lot of people don't love him because they think he's an idiot or they just don't like that it's a gaming channel and yada, yada, yada. I don't want to get into that stuff again. His channel was viewed in 2014 4.1 billion times. He also passed the 33.5 million subscriber mark, which is apparently a bump from 20.9 at the end of 2013. So that is basically 13.5 million freaking subscribers he got. Well, I guess it's more like 12.5 alone in 2014. That is insane. I mean, I couldn't imagine accomplishing that kind of stuff, and you can see why the guy makes so much money and why he's so popular, And so, the disclaimer I have to give to you guys, and you can judge me or hate me if you want, I simply don't care because I'm proud of how I feel about these things. I love PewDiePie. I think he's a genuine, goofy, fun gamer who just makes this crazy content. And yes, he yells and swears a lot and isn't normally the kind of humor I would like in most other things like movies, but I don't know, man. I just love him. I think he's super funny and fun and entertaining to watch, and that's all he's ever trying to be. He knows he's the biggest star on YouTube. He knows that for sure. You can't not. But I think as far as he could, for as much as this could possibly be true, I think he's humble enough and genuine. I think anyone would have some sort of element of that changing your personality to a degree. He's only human. And you can make the arguments that, oh, he's kind of dumb and all he does is yell and scream and it's not, clever and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know what? You're right. You're totally right. I will never argue that point. It's a matter of he presents the content the way he does. He games the way he does and does the things he does. And you either like it or you don't. Honestly, I don't know why, man, but I freaking love him. I love the guy. I also completely respect his success. I'm proud of him for being a gamer who is the most successful channel on YouTube. It's interesting to see he was still the most viewed channel on YouTube, but the numbers are in his favor with so many subscribers, I mean, my girlfriend loves him to death. We love to sit down and watch PewDiePie. Also Markiplier and a few other guys, but of course those are the big guys we all know, and they're great. I think they're both fantastic. And, I just want to say congrats to the guy. Congrats to any gamer, regardless of which games you like and how you present your gaming content. I still think of us all as like part of the same big nerdy family, as cheesy and mushy as that sounds. That's how I look at it. So I'm proud to say that one of my own, because PewDiePie is one of my own, I'm proud that he is the king of YouTube. I think that's really super cool. Even if I hated his content, I promise you, I would still feel that way. Bonus that I also think he's a pretty funny guy. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting news. What was interesting is the second most popular channel on YouTube, according to this article on VG Charts that I found about this, is DC Toys Collector. I had no idea, but that's pretty cool because DC is awesome. And so, yeah, other nerdy stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. He was like, him and Minecraft were the only gaming-related top searches for the year in 2014, and who knows how long his success is going to continue to go, but it seems like it's not slowing down with 12.5 freaking million subscribers gained in 1 year alone in 2014. So, pretty crazy news. Those are my feelings. Like I said, PewDiePie, I love you, man. Congrats. You deserve your success. I think you're super funny, and that's pretty much that when it comes to PewDiePie. Alrighty, well that's it for this sort of, pseudo week in review video for today. Really fun doing this. I miss kind of doing things like this where I talk about a couple different topics for a couple minutes at a time, all together on one video. If you like this and you even like this format and want me to kind of continue doing stuff like this as well, please go ahead and let me know. Like I said, I really enjoy doing it. Discuss the topics below: the Order 1886, PewDiePie's massive success, the Xbox 360 surpassing the Wii for the 7th gen, all these crazy things. Of course, I also have a Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate 3DS demo code to give away, which I've been talking about on my Facebook and my Twitter. I've gotten a couple. I used one for myself. I gave one to one of my really good best buddies, my actual friends. And then I also had 2 left over that I want to give out to you guys, the followers and fans and subscribers of Rule of 2 Review. So the first code I gave out a couple of hours ago today on Twitter. And yes, I do have a Facebook and a Twitter for Rule of 2 Review. So please follow and subscribe to those channels and social media locations as well. I've done a couple contests and given away some gift cards for things, and I'll always keep doing that stuff. I love engaging and interacting with you guys. I was really happy that Nintendo, decided to shoot me some of these codes. I'm assuming it's because I've been registered with them for a while. Also because I did pre-order and pay for my Monster Hunter 4 new 3DS bundle. So maybe those things are why they sent them to me. But regardless, I had some extras to give away. Hooked a buddy up, hooked myself up, hooked some lucky fan up on Twitter, sorry. Go and follow me on those places. And again, here we are below. Get ready for it because now I'm going to post the Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate code. It is first come, first serve. And here you go right now. And there you go, as you guys furiously write down or get on your 3DSs in the eShop to download and enter that code. Hopefully someone gets really lucky and gets to use this thing fast. Enjoy it. The demo was really great so far. Super pumped for Monster Hunter myself. Me and my buddies are huge fans of the series. I can't wait to get my new 3DS and the game and start gaming with a bunch of people and just getting back into the Monster Hunter world with what looks to be the best Monster Hunter yet. So super pumped there. Congratulations if you managed to snag that code. Please feel free to share on Twitter or Facebook that you did get this code so that I know. I'd love to be able to congratulate you in person. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, if you're new to Rule of 2 Review, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. It helps me in the channel out big time. Welcome to the family if you do. Again, Facebook and Twitter, please follow me at those places below. Share your opinions and your thoughts about the 3 topics I talked about. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, I will catch you guys on the next video for Rule of 2 Review.